Hi guys, Stuart from the Filmreelcast. We have another audio podcast review for you. This time it's 1988. Arnie, it's not a comedy, I'd love to say comedy, but there's action in there. And it's Red Heat. Okay, it stars Schwarzenegger as a cop from Russia going over to New York to catch this bad guy who's been after for a long time. And whilst he's there, he pairs up with Jim Belushi. It's kind of a buddy cop film. You get hints of Rush Hour about it, where Rush Hour have taken stuff from this film, so it can't all be that bad. But to find out, you'd have to listen to our review. Before you do that, remember, subscribe to this channel, find us on iTunes, find us on Android, we're on all good podcasting platforms. As it says there, it's the Filmreelcast. Just look for that and press that subscribe button. Email us or contact us at thefilmreelcast@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at the Filmreelcast. You can find us on all of those platforms. If there's anything you want us to review, just let us know. And all the comments are just brilliant, so thanks very much. And thanks for everyone who supported us. Okay, on with this review. I hope you enjoy it. We'll be back next week with Terminator Salvation. Thank you. And welcome back. Another week means another review. And we can't do that without Neil, who's here. Neil, how are you?
Oh, Stu, I'm here. I'm with you yet again, talking about films like we like to do, which is fantastic. So I'm very good. Yourself, are you doing well?
Not bad, mate. Not bad. Yeah, I'm really excited to hear. Welcome back, everyone. We're doing Red Heat, 1988. Another Arnold Schwarzenegger. Welcome back to the Arnold Schwarzenegger podcast. But well, yeah, it's Red Heat. So we're doing this. We was going to do it quite a while back, but other films got in the way. The schedule kind of changed. So we're doing it now. And I've not spoken to you since we decided to do this. I've got no idea. But as I say, it's in 1988. It's a film that kind of, I know we've spoken about it before on the numerous podcasts that we've done, but just going back to Arnold Schwarzenegger and the run he had in the 80s, it still astounds me with Conan the Barbarian, The Destroyer, Terminator, Red Sonja, Commando, Raw Deal, Predator, Running Man, Red Heat, Twins. I mean, a guy was untouchable, wasn't he?
Oh,
he really was.
He was the action star of the 80s, wasn't he? He was just, anything he touched basically turned to gold, really, in that sort of era. It was just fantastic.
Yeah, it's mental. This is what surprised me. When you look at the cast for this, I mean, you've got Arnold Schwarzenegger playing Ivan Danko. You've got Jim Belushi playing Art Ridzik. And we'll talk about Jim Belushi's career as well. I mean, you've got Edo Ross playing Viktor Rostavili, and Lawrence Fishburne and Gina Gershon. They're the main characters in this, really. Mm-hmm. And you look at Jim Belushi, and Jim Belushi is one of those guys who you just know. And you kind of like him. He's got a likable face. There's something good about him. But when you look at the 80s, compared how big Schwarzenegger was, I mean, in 86, he had Jumping Jack Flash, a very good film. Little Shop of Horrors. You've got Red Heat, K9, Who's Larry Crumb. Really started to kind of just drift away. And it was an interesting choice putting these two together. And I wonder if they did it because of Schwarzenegger so dry and the way Belushi's so kind of off the cuff, improvises, quick-witted and smart talking. Wonder whether that was their point of view as to why they chose these two.
I think you're probably on the money there, to be honest, Stu, because they are completely polar opposites, aren't they, of characters, in the sense of, like you say, Arnie is very dry. He's a one-trick pony in the way he does things, especially in this era, sort of early to mid-80s, where he was just a big guy, showed no emotions whatsoever. And Jim Belushi's the complete opposite. He was all emotion. So I think the two work quite well together, to be honest.
Oh, do you think so?
Yeah, I thought they worked well. But from what you just said, I don't think you agree.
Or do I? I don't know. But Walter Hill, who was the director of this, someone admittedly I'd not really heard of. But again, when you look at what he's done producer-wise, I mean, Last Man Standing, his got
Alien.
Red Heat, Aliens,
Alien 3,
The
sorry.
Warriors, Alien, and the director as well, and the writing. Again, Last Man Standing,
Warriors.
Crossroads with Ralph Macchio and Steve Vai at the end. Amazing last third of that film is so good. Brewster's Millions, 48 Hours, Southern Comfort. Again, The Warriors, The Driver. So many great action films, iconic action films
Definitely.
that I've seen that I didn't know he was responsible for.
No, definitely. I'm a little bit disappointed in the Aliens versus Predator bit that he's a producer for, but
See, I like Alien versus Predator.
oh, don't do that to me, Stu. It's
Do you
fucking
know,
terrible.
is that the Adrian Brody one? What's
I
that
have no
one?
idea. I walked out that cinema so fucking angry when I watched that film.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was just the complete opposite of the way they should have done it. It should have been set in the future with the Marines because of how good Aliens were. It just didn't need to be put back. And anyway, it was crap. One of the worst mistakes I think Hollywood have ever made with a franchise was doing it that way.
That's the Alien versus Predator Requiem one, isn't it?
Well, both are, aren't they? It's just AVP is where it goes back to the modern day, and the aliens were being hunted by the predators on Earth, and that's why all the pyramids are and stuff like that are around.
Oh, I remember
like the Aztec pyramids and all that shit, and it was to house the alien queen, and it was just absolute bollocks. And the predator ends up crewing up with the main character lady in it and gives her a fucking spear. It's just absolute horseshit. But
that's right. Yeah, because it's I was getting that's got that Lance Hendrickson in it, hasn't it?
Yeah, because he's obviously the android, isn't he, in the Aliens? And they said that it was made it was made off of his image. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's how he's able to be in both.
Oh, so they blagged it that way. That's
basically,
so. Oh, dear me.
Exactly.
That's terrible.
Exactly. See, you're seeing my point now, aren't you?
Yeah, I like the one. I think it's Adrian Brody. I do like that one.
Which one's that one? Adrian Brody one.
I think that's where they're in the jungle and people are dropped in there and they've each they've each done something wrong.
Yeah, Predator is brilliant, or Predators or whatever it's called. Yeah, it's fantastic.
That maybe I won't get muddled up with that one. There's so many different. I mean, we need to do another big franchise, I think.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a franchise that divides opinion, but I actually like Predators because, it's set on a different planet where, like you say, all those different criminals and stuff have been dropped in, which is I like that premise. Lots of old school music as well from the original.
Yes,
it's very much homage to the first one.
Well, we need to get the next on our list. We're carrying on the Terminator franchise. We've got Terminator Salvation. I have watched that a couple of times. Hopefully, if the schedule goes well, we can get that in next week.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Before we get into Red Heat, off the back of what we were obviously the things we post out, I've been posting out a lot of our older podcasts, which I think due to the amount we've got and due to how old they are, they don't appear up on our feed.
Yeah.
And the last one that I've got something kicking off at the moment. The last one that's kicked off was I put the King of Kong on. I put that on a week ago, and that's something that myself and James we reviewed.
Yeah.
And we've had some really good feedback. And there's a guy called I think it's Rex Apis, something like that. He's the film. There is a documentary, and it's the coin ops in the arcade, and you've got Steve Wiebe and you've got Billy Mitchell. Two ends of the spectrum, and they're beating the score at Donkey Kong. And you've got Twin Galaxies, who's in charge of it all, and there's a lot of controversy about everything. And he messaged me on some of the comments, which, I mean, thanks to everyone who's left comments, to say that that documentary was scripted, and that there's another guy who's actually beat the record, and due to different kind of politics, Tim Zerbe is the one who beat it.
Right.
And they said that the documentary is a fake, and he sent me some stuff.
Wow.
And just thanks for everything he sent me. And it was really, really interesting. And I think we might even go and review or do a follow-up on the podcast of the King of Kong. because it was just, if that is true, there's so much more to talk about. So again, if you do leave comments, go to YouTube. I'll always pick the comments up, and it'd be great to have a chat. And if there's something like this, something you don't agree on, or we've got the facts wrong, leave comments, and we'll kind of revisit it. We'll talk about it. It'll be really, really good. So yeah, thanks for him leaving those comments. That was absolutely awesome. Really interesting.
Well done, that person.
Yeah, it's a really good film. If you haven't seen it, mate, really, really good. King of Kong.
The way you just explained it, it sounds very much like Pixels.
No, God, no.
Clearly, it's not.
No, it's an actual documentary where they're not. Well, I don't know whether there are actors now. It's all been kind of flipped on its head, but it's completely different to Pixels. I promise you that. Jesus Christ, thank God for that. Okay.
Don't you mock such an amazing film?
Oh, you can piss off for us. Oh, Jesus Christ! I'm not even going there. Damn. So just before we do get into a Red Heat, obviously it will contain spoilers and it will contain mild language as well. For that, I apologise in advance. So
I don't.
Okay, the storyline for Red Heat is a mutually uneasy alliance is formed between stern Captain Ivan Danko, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger from the Moscow Police, and the American equivalent from the Chicago Art Ridzik, played by Jim Belushi. When the latter captures Viktor Rostavili, a dangerous Georgian drug kingpin, Danko's partner is murdered by Viktor, who then goes to Chicago, where he's trying to make a drug deal. He's followed there by Danko, who teams up with Ridzik, and then they try and capture. Politics are involved, and they try and capture Viktor, and there's a whole lot more to that, which also involves the lovely Gina Gershon as well. If I went in one of the worst car chases, not a car chase, a coach chase that I've seen on TV for a long time. But that's the general premise. It's very much a Crocodile Dundee, fish out of water style storyline. Am I really not doing it justice, or am I doing that justice?
Yeah, I mean, yes. Yeah, I think you are.
I think you love this film and you want it to be better.
I like it for what it is.
And what would that be?
I say it's one of those films where it's raw deal, but better. In my opinion. Raw
deal, but better.
Yeah.
God, I think at least Raw Deal, they knew what it was, and they went with it. I mean, this film, I mean, in comparison to the budget, I mean, you go back, especially Arnie, how big he was, and what a name. Obviously, this is just internet, so it could be anything, but budget is estimated 29 million, opening weekend 8 million, and grossed worldwide 34 million. So, in a way, it was a success. It still made money, but off the back of the name of Arnie, and when you think the films he made and the caliber of the films,
I know
it's I'd say it was pretty much like my sex life, a flop.
Oh, it was a flop. It was a flop. Let's be fair.
What are we talking about now?
Well, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. No, I mean, the film. I'm not being funny. I don't think it. Well, it clearly didn't. It didn't set the world alight, did it? With its amazing story or acting or anything like that. But when you actually just sit down and watch it, it's quite enjoyable. It's an original sort of idea. It's obviously that sort of Cold War-y sort of storyline of America and Russia hate each other, and this guy comes over. It's Rocky-esque, Rocky 4-esque, I suppose, in the sense of the where the two are colliding against each other, and he's being told he can't say anything, blah blah blah. But I quite enjoyed it for what it was. It's got some funny action scenes in it. The acting's shocking from Arnie, bless him. But the rest of the cast do really well. Lawrence Fishburne is an absolute arsehole in this film, but he does it brilliantly.
Oh, he does it. Yeah, he's very, very good at what he does, and I like how what an arse he is, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, but I think this film, it is a buddy cop film, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is.
And I think when you've got it was 1988, so I think when you've got like 48 hours, which is very, very good film, and it's a good a buddy cop film. I know Eddie Murphy isn't a cop in it, but technically it is a buddy cop film. There's Tango and Cash as well. I mean, you got Turner and Hooch. I mean, you got those kind of films. I think there were Running Scared as well in '86. I think there were better buddy cop films, and I think this film possibly suffers the fact that it's Russian. And I mean, when you look at the start of this film, there's not a lot of dialogue at the start of it.
No,
And
there isn't. No.
Schwarzenegger goes to this kind of homosexual health spa where all the guys are oiled and ripped completely.
All wearing tiny towels.
Yeah, exactly. They've got flannels covering their genitalia. And everyone's just doing moody looks at each other. And for some reason, you've got Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is just a monster. He's full on Terminator, isn't he? He's ripped.
He's absolutely huge, isn't he? There's some absolutely humongous guys in that place, though. He doesn't look out of place in a sense at all.
Not at all.
With some of the guys.
Yeah, he's just a monster. And he walks over to this guy who just puts this hot rock in his hand. There's no dialogue why he really does this. And he just punches him through the window and they have a fight. And I don't really get the idea of it, the point of it. I mean, it's just pointless. What was this about?
I think he was trying to get himself inside the criminal organisation, and that was their test to hold a rock in his hand. That is how I put it. But clearly, he didn't like the rock being in his hand, so he punched it through a window.
It was just strange, wasn't it? Because it led to a fight outside in the snow, and the punches being landed are like sledgehammers, aren't they? They ramp up the sounds, and the gunshots in this.
I know.
Oh my lord!
It makes you laugh actually when he's huge, and when he punches someone, he can punch him through a window, but he's also must have a really shit punch because he never knocks anyone out.
Not really.
Straight away, it takes like 15 punches, and then finally, unless they've all got iron jaws, I don't know.
And he's after Viktor Rostavili. Where is Viktor Rostavili?
Arnie, are you there? Can I have Stu?
And then what made me laugh is after that, so you get the idea that he's after Viktor Rosta. That's the only dialogue he says in the first part. And then as the credits flow, they show you Russia. And they could not paint a more miserable picture of a country. The first scene you see of Member Republic is that he's got one of his legs missing and he's on wooden crutches. It's like, God.
It's dingy, horrible, cold, one-legged people everywhere. And it's just everyone's in those Russian hats. It's the type you look at it and go, yeah, I'm not going now. I'm all right, thanks.
Exactly. No one's smiling.
No.
Everyone's sad, as if they're kind of in concentration camps. And when you look at the start of this, compare that to the intro of Beverly Hill Cop, of how happy everyone is and the sun's shining. They really paint a picture of this is one of the most miserable countries you could ever go to.
Oh, definitely. Well, it's that thing, though, isn't it? Of America's amazing, everywhere else is shit.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And what I found was this is currently shown on Netflix, and if you don't put the subtitles on, and that's including for like people who want to understand what they said in English, they just speak Russian without any subtitles.
Yeah. I was watching it for a while, going, "Is this how this is supposed to be?" And I ended up put them on, and then went back. And I was like, oh, so there is a dialogue of you are supposed to know what the hell they're talking about.
That's what I did.
I was in the same boat as you. I was like, surely there must be more to this than just people talking Russian.
Yeah.
Because I have no fucking clue what's going on. No, but there you go.
That's exactly what I thought. I watched it about 5 minutes. Thought, now, aren't they expecting people to understand Russian or understand what's happening in the story without any subtitles? And it's bizarre that you have to put the subtitles on to understand this film. It's amazing.
What makes me laugh even more is the fact you put it on and then it's for everything, even the English.
That's what makes me laugh. Yeah.
It's just like, what? Yes, anyway.
And I love that, 'cause when the music plays, it says sinister music.
Yes.
So you know.
Crying out loud.
Crap Russian folk music. But they've got a plan with his colleague, his partner, who's obviously talking about his family, which means from the off, you know he's going to die.
You're dead. You're dead.
Yeah.
You're talking about your family. No, you're out.
And the idea is that Schwarzenegger goes into this typical kind of Russian cafe, where again, the picture he paints is so grim, where the guy's wife is probably his sister and daughter as well, and everyone is just so weird looking. It's just the freakiest place. It's like a bar from The Hills Have Eyes.
It is odd, isn't it? It seems like it's in a basement. It's run down. It's it's really odd. Yeah, it doesn't paint a very nice picture of Russia. It's like you'd walk in there and just walk straight back out again, wouldn't you? Like,
100%. 100%.
I'm all right, thanks. I'm okay.
I'll see you later. And it's like the music, the Russian singing. I mean, it's just terrible. It just made me die. I expected everyone to stop and just stare at Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that was it. But no, it's awful. It's a bar of depravity. It's the equivalent, the Russian equivalent to the Cantina bar in Star Wars, isn't it?
That's
There's
it. They
so
painted
many
that picture.
freaks. Oh, dear. They should have played that music. What do you want to hear? Play the same song. So good.
Oh, so brilliant.
So he goes to the bar and he sees Viktor, and he's surrounded by weird looking people, one of them including his brother. And Viktor obviously makes out that, why are you picking on us Georgians, and it's really unfair and it's utter nonsense. Yeah. And the only good that comes out of it is that one of them gobs off at Schwarzenegger and says, "You've got no evidence." And Schwarzenegger drags him across the floor and he breaks his leg in half. And that's when he says, "Cocainum." And that's the first time I heard that. I'd never forgot that. For some reason, that stuck in my mind when I first saw this back in the 80s.
Well, it's brilliant, though, isn't it? Because he's got actually a false leg, hasn't he? He just tips out his cocaine, isn't even in packets. Just carrying around raw cocaine in his leg. It was just brilliant.
They snort it from the leg there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's from the big toe. That's what they do. Depending on how much you want, you pick your toe to take it from.
Oh, it's quite funny. It did make me laugh. And then you've got the worst police outside. I think they're all standing there chatting shit and smoking because they suddenly rush and line up to get shot, basically, don't they?
Oh, yeah, they do. Yeah, it's the typical 80s shoot 'em out, isn't it? Where we all stand still, fire bullets at each other, and then eventually, so all of them get shot. It's so A-team, isn't it? But with actual death. Amazing. It's fantastic.
And the guy who plays Viktor's brother, who got shot on the stairs, looking at the trivia on IMDb, apparently he thought he was quite a big guy and reckoned himself a bit until he saw Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then he realised that he wasn't anything quite special.
I'm quite small. Yeah.
Exactly. It's quite
I'm going to get back in my box.
So the moment arrives that we all know is going to happen because they all escape. But why today, when they've got someone so violent, who's so high profile, that they don't put any kind of containment on and they always manage to escape?
I don't know. Why do they always just send one person in?
It's just dog shit. The partner gets killed. And what made me laugh, because the partner gets shot and then the next scene is of the funeral. And he's still wearing the police uniform. It's almost as if they picked him up from where he got shot on the street, slung him straight in a coffin, which isn't big enough for him. And then everyone's like, right, on to the funeral.
Yeah, well, maybe that's the way they do it in Soviet Russia.
It could be, but that coffin's so funny. It cracked me up.
Oh.
Let's paint a real shit picture of Russia, shall we?
It is a real sort of we don't give a fuck, do we?
No, 100%.
Yeah.
And somehow Victor manages to escape and he goes to Chicago. And that's when the story really picks up. There's another group in Chicago who he's hooked up with called the Clean Heads, and it's a big, a massive established group of black guys, and they're called the Clean Heads because they shave their head to show their allegiance to the leader, who's called one of them is called Elijah, who's of this gang.
Yes.
And they rip this £100 note, which is like a MacGuffin. It's a nothing, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
it is. Yeah.
They make a big deal out of this £100 note, or $100, should I say?
Yes.
And it's meant to be the two bearers, when they meet up and get them together for the drugs deal, they'll know who they are, and the deal can go ahead. But if you've got a suitcase full of cash and you're willing to sell and buy drugs, regardless of a ripped in half $100 note, the deal's going to go ahead, surely, isn't it?
Yeah, it is quite odd.
Yeah.
I don't know what. It's
funny.
very convoluted, isn't it? Considering they could just meet and say, yeah, all right, I've got the money. Okay, we've got the coke. Let's meet somewhere and do it. There's lockers and
that's being cynical.
Yeah, maybe they just like to do things that way. I don't know.
Exactly. And I do like it. The first introduction you get at Jim Belushi is we're on some kind of stakeout, and he's looking at the prostitute, and she's quite top heavy.
Yeah.
And when he's kind of giving a running commentary on her.
Oh, attention. Fun bag patrol. Double bogeys, 11 o'clock. Christ. You think she bought those? I don't think so. I think those are homegrown.
And it's so funny. It's just so crude. And that's when you first get the taste of Larry Fishburne and another cannon fodder who is Jim Belushi's partner, who you knew he was just going to die at some point, didn't you?
Yeah, you know he was going to go. I hoped it was going to be Fishburne, but
Did you really?
I did, because he was a complete cock in this film. As much as I love him as an actor, he was such a knob in this film.
It's weird because he is, as you say, he is an arse through this film, but there's no payoff against him being like that, is there?
Not really, no. Not really. I suppose at the end, very, very end, he doesn't get what he wants, but in general, yeah, you just hate him throughout the whole film, and there isn't a massive payoff. But
yeah,
I don't know.
And you kind of learn that Belushi's character isn't really highly thought of, and you find out his dad was a cop, a very good cop, but Belushi's not as respected as enough. But you soon learn he is a really good cop, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. He just goes about it in a sort of unorthodox, probably not legal way, but he knows how to get results, and he does care.
Yeah,
I think he's just pissed off with the system, and he's obviously working with this knobhead Fishburne who's up his arse constantly about how he does things.
Yeah, because when they do the bust, he does save their life, really, doesn't he?
He does, and then he gets an adequate review, but yet, he chases down a guy with a shotgun and, like you say, basically saves their lives and catches the other guy. So, but he hates him Fishburne hates him that much that he can't even give him credit for that. Because he just wants him out, doesn't he? He doesn't want him in the force.
Yeah, they kind of are all against him for some reason, and it's it's not very good. But from their bust, Elijah does get arrested, which obviously cocks the plans up of Victor, who's waiting to do a drug deal in a phone box. Victor's got a key on him. The key's obviously got the cash, and they're going to do the exchange. He's going to give Elijah the cash, get the drugs, and take the drugs back to Russia, and then just flood the market with some of the best cocaine you can get. And that's the general story of what he's trying to do for all of this. But what's really strange is he's waiting in the phone box for Elijah to come. He's got the key in his hand. They show that close up so you know.
Yeah.
And
foreshadow.
Foreshadow, huge. And then Elijah doesn't show up because he's just been busted by Belushi and Fishburne. And then as he's waiting in the phone box, typical, you get someone, hey, is a phone box free? And he has to leave. And out of the blue, without any resistance, you find out a patrol car picked him up and arrested him later.
It was quite weak, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'll just get nicked. It's fine.
And it was really the most wanted criminal, probably on Interpol's top 10, that it gets picked up without any resistance and waiting to be deported back to Russia. It seemed really strange. I know there was lots of scenes cut out of this film. Like, for instance, when he does go into the prison to try and find out more information, and he meets the whole leader of the Cleanheads. One of the scenes they did have was that to prove himself, Danko, Schwarzenegger's character, would have to kind of go in a cell and do a hand-to-hand combat, like a fight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and if he won, he would have got that information. And there was another scene with Gina Gershon as well, where she was working with Belushi's character, Art, and they were trying to do a sting operation to try and get Viktor and arrest him, but they cut that out, and that's why... and that was in between the hotel scene and the last scene where there's that massive shootout of the hotel. And that's why it kind of ends pretty quick, this film, because they did decide to cut a lot of the scenes out, which is, it's a bit of a bizarre decision.
It's a fairly long film still, though. It's an hour and 44 minutes.
Yeah.
It's, or 144 minutes, sorry. So,
it's padded out. There's a lot that need to be in there. And interestingly, the next scene that's padded out, and usually when we do these reviews, if it's on iTunes, if it's on Netflix, if it's on Amazon, we'll have it run in the background, won't we?
Yeah.
So we'll just kind of remind ourselves in our old senior age of what's actually happening. And if anyone's watching this, if they go to roundabouts, I'd say 19 minutes and 50 seconds, something like that, for some reason, there's a printout from in Russia, and it's all in Russian, and they decide to show virtually word for word of this printout, and it lasts for about 20 seconds. No one can understand it, but they decide to film it. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, I think it alludes to the fact that something is in America, doesn't it? Because it comes up with Washington, but that's about it. And
that's it. You see that scene for the fact that Viktor's been arrested for minor traffic offences. Can you go and pick him up? I mean, man, that's a 30-second scene extended to about 10 minutes, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it doesn't need to be done at all. It could have just said, "We picked. He's been arrested in America. Go and get him." You don't need to see a printout of this weird convoluted typewriter thing that's going off. Fuck working in that room, I tell you. Those going off all the time was driving you mental.
It's torture. You couldn't have a hangover and do that job, could you?
You couldn't. It's like typewriters everywhere, just clicking away. It's
I do like when Schwarzenegger does land and you get Belushi's partner just start with that awkward conversation to Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to break the ice, and Schwarzenegger's just doing his usual stone face, just standing there and just not interested, but he's trying to make some weak conversation.
Captain Danko?
Yes.
I'm Detective Sergeant Gallagher, Chicago Police Department. Glad to meet you.
Thank you.
First time in Chicago?
Yes.
You have a nice flight?
Yes, fine.
You hungry?
No.
Thirsty?
No. I hate to break up this romance, but I'm parked in a red zone.
It's
it's just thank you. That's it. It's just nothing at all. But that's the thing, isn't it? He's been told he's not allowed to say anything, so he's just basically, I'm not talking to you about anything at all. I'm just going to tell you where I want to go, and that's about it. I'm not going to have a relationship, any sort of thing like that with anyone. It's quite, but it suits Arnie's acting down to the ground, doesn't it? Because it is very much like Terminator and the rest of them, where he doesn't have to say anything. Yeah,
and Walter Hill even wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger to watch some Russian-styled films and learn the language of Russian to try and improve kind of like the character more, which is a really bizarre thing to say because he's really lacks any character, Arnie, and that's his kind of persona. That's what you get with him. So it seems strange that Walter Hill wanted to kind of enhance this even more for the Russian character. It's either a bizarre request or that he thinks Russians just lack any character whatsoever.
Maybe that's the opinion of what they had back then.
Yeah.
For Russians, I don't know. But
I do like the line from the guy behind the hotel when he says his name, and he goes Danko, and he goes, "You're welcome." I did like that line.
Yeah.
I thought that was very good.
There was some good little bits in this film. I know you clearly aren't really up with it.
It's not terrible. Trust me, it's not terrible. I mean, it's Schwarzenegger does what he needs to do, and that's absolutely fine. But why did Schwarzenegger specifically ask for Danko's old room? Why was that?
Oh, what for?
When he stayed at the hotel, he asked for Victor's old room.
Because I guess he wanted to see if there's anything there that might lead to where he was gone. I guess it was detective work. I guess
He doesn't search the room, does he? You don't see him searching the room anyway, do you? You see him put the TV on and there's porn.
Yeah, and he makes a joke about capitalism.
Yeah, which is bizarre, but I don't quite get why you wanted the room. Maybe there was a cut, but I think it is the fact that he's there to investigate him. So rather than saying a posh hotel, he wants to think like he thinks or something. It wasn't explained, like you say, but I think that's the way you're supposed to take it. Yep. I'll look into it far too much as per usual, but and when they take him out from prison, is he in prison or is he in the police cells? I took it he was in the police cells, isn't he?
Yeah, he must be. He can't be in prison. He must be in the cells at the Nick.
Right. So the cells. So the police. That was really weird because they kind of leave the police station, the cells, go downstairs, and then they're like in like the bottom of a shopping mall or something like that. It's just or a rail station. It looks a really weird place, doesn't it?
It is quite strange. Let me just. Yeah. No.
Because as they're escorting him out, you get the like I said, obviously they're going to take Victor back to the plane now, and you get the clean heads pull up, and they're all dressed up as security guards. And as they walk in, that's when they decide to kind of beat everyone up. But the exit from the police station appears to go into like a bit of a shopping centre. It's just quite a strange.
It is a strange setup, isn't it? Actually, you're right. That's very odd. I didn't notice that. Well done.
Yeah, because there's no front door of the police station. There's just stairs that go directly up to it, which is, it's just really bizarre. But maybe it's convenient for the actual story and it makes it look good rather than having to have a shootout in the police station or anywhere else.
Or maybe they just have their holding cells under a shopping centre.
Maybe that's what they do. But this is the moment when Belushi's partner conveniently bites the bullet when Belushi is walking away. And it's quite good. Why they didn't shoot Schwarzenegger, I don't know.
Wow. Why? They never do that, though, do they? They never shoot the main character, ever.
No, it would have been.
They never do. It's a thing with the films, isn't it? How many times have we turned around and said, like in Lethal Weapon and stuff, why didn't they just shoot him in the head?
Yeah.
And Rush Hour as well. She could have killed him on the boat, but instead, the next hour and a half, they're chasing each other around the world and Chinese restaurants and stuff. So it's just the way they do it.
It's genius, isn't it? It's genius. But when the clean heads do bust Victor free, one of the Russian guys does get shot and he's in hospital in a coma, which we'll come into it later on. And Schwarzenegger is he's on a mission now. He's failed. You realise that he's very proud and he's very mission focused, and he's got that key, but he's lost Victor, and he knows the key is the only way to get Victor back. Without that, he's got nothing, and he doesn't tell anyone else about the key, does he? He keeps that to himself.
Yeah, well, like I say, he doesn't want to tell anyone. He doesn't trust anyone. He's been told he can't trust Americans and all this sort of stuff. So he's trying to do it all himself, isn't he? And using Belushi along the way. to get what he needs to, which he does really well, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, there's no payoff for it, but I mean, they go to they decide to go to the prison because they need to work out why the clean heads are working with Victor and what Victor's plans are. And I'm really pleased that when they do go to the prison, that there isn't any payoff, because it would have been really weak for the storyline if you have this massive, like the kingpin of the clean heads suddenly opens up and starts telling everyone what Victor's going to do. That would have been just ridiculous. But I mean, credit to this story that it doesn't actually give anything away. And all of those convicts there were real life convicts in the background, over 200. Really? Yeah.
Wow. So they filmed it there, just
yeah,
to make it real, I guess.
Yeah, they filmed in a prison. I don't know what prison it was, but everyone in the background, over 200 guys, are actual convicts, which is really, really cool.
That is cool, actually, to be fair. But I agree with you in the sense that rather than, like in lots of other films where they just go in and tell a sob story and they go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll tell you everything or whatever, or they threaten them and stuff like that. And he tries to threaten them, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he basically says, there's nothing you can do to me. All I want to do is sell drugs to every white man in the world and all this sort of stuff. He's a real, I want to fuck you all up sort of thing. You're all going to be my bitch, and there's nothing you can do. And I liked that. Because even Arnie was just like, shit, normally this would work.
Yeah, and I think it works really, really well. He does make the threat about cutting his nuts and eyes off, and I think it's quite a good line back from him.
We are not like American police. You ship drugs to my country, and one morning you will wake up and find your testicles floating in glass of water next to your bed.
I'm a holy man. I got no need for testicles.
And I settle for your eyes.
You can't threaten me, white boy. You want to know what my crime is? My crime was being born.
That just goes to show just how ruthless he is and how much he doesn't give a shit, and he's got nothing to lose. So that really worked well for me. From there, they do go and see who I've always really liked. I think Gina Gershon. I think she's brilliant. I think she's stunning. She's great in everything she does. And I mean, I think she was in Showgirls as well, wasn't she?
She was, yeah.
Yeah, she was great in that. Honestly, her acting is fantastic.
It's top draw acting. Yeah.
And she was in Face Off as well, wasn't she?
She was Face Off.
Was it Bound as no? Or am I thinking of someone else?
She's in Bound as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's been in quite a few things, to be honest, but I think she's done a lot more sort of speaking roles of late. But 80s, 90s, she does some good stuff.
Yeah, she was the actual sex symbol of that time. She was absolutely brilliant. She's smashing it. But yeah, she's really, really good. And it's a shame what happens to her in the end, obviously. And she's Victor's wife, and it was never really explained how she became Victor's wife.
No.
And I think that could have been something rather than the padded out Russian bits of how she became the wife. Was it she was a wife by a drug debt or like money? Or
no,
she was
money,
kind of,
wasn't it?
She was bound to him to pay something off, but nothing's really disclosed that much, is it?
No, yeah, they did it sort of explain in the sense that she teaches kids to dance to keep them off the street at minimum wage, which was like $5 or something like that, she was saying. And he basically offered her 10 grand to marry him so he could get into the country.
Oh, okay. So that was it then. So she's got no loyalty to him, really, has she?
No, at the start she did, because obviously she's like, he's basically giving me loads of money and he's probably treating her fairly decently and stuff like that. But as the film goes on and she actually sees what he's about, her opinion changes quite drastically.
Yeah, and it starts to escalate with a scene which is a strange scene, because they do kind of do a stakeout on the dance studio, and eventually she does leave and they follow her, and you realise it's the taxi she gets in is driven by I think it's Elijah from the Clean Heads, and they go to this multi-story car park, and all the Clean Heads are there and they approach them with weapons, and you realise that she had no choice in doing it. She didn't want to do it, and Arnie's character goes down to meet Victor, and
yeah, I didn't get this, to be honest.
I didn't get it.
No.
No one's got weapons because the clean heads have taken all their weapons, haven't they? And it's more of like a cock competition, isn't it?
It's
Really,
a pissing contest, yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
There's no payoff at all. I mean, I just don't. It's so padded out. I don't know why they had these kind of scenes in. The conversation between him and Victor was, "Oh, if I had a gun, I'd kill you. Well, I'd kill you." And
Yeah.
then they walk away.
So, well, you could probably, not being funny, Arnie could have probably just broken his neck there and then, but they didn't. It was, I do agree with you. It didn't have any payoff. There was no reason for it whatsoever. What I will say is, though, the scene before that, where the guy, because there's the joke, isn't there, that what's his name, Jim Belushi's telling Arnold that he can't go around threatening people and hurting people.
Yes.
Because of Miranda's rights and all this sort of stuff. And there's the guy that's trying to get 50 quid out of him for parking outside, isn't there?
Hey, asshole! You can't park here. This is my parking place. I live right up there. So move your piece of shit car the hell out now or give me $50.
I do not understand.
Let me make it real simple, moron. You move your ass or you give me 50, or I take my Pete Rose here and fucking mutilate your car.
Do you know Miranda?
Never heard of the bitch.
Fucking knocks him out. I thought that was brilliant. It was just a touch of comedy. That
is really, very good.
It was so good. But yeah, so I just had to mention that because it was one of the best bits of the film.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. And that's when Belushi comes back to the car, and there's the guy just laying unconscious next to the car, and he doesn't give a toss, does he?
He goes, "What's he doing here?" And he goes, "He lives here." Okay.
Credit to it. They did have their moments, and another bit that I did like, which was I liked it for the wrong reason, but when they go to the hospital because they want to question the guy who was shot earlier by Belushi when Victor escaped, and there's a Russian guy in this who looks really feminine, and he dresses up as a nurse and he goes into the hospital and he injects the guy, kills him as they normally do, because anyone can walk in hospital and administer drugs. You can be
apparently so.
And the fact that when he's walking past and Belushi turns around and checks him out, and man alive, he could be like Who Framed Roger Rabbit moment where his eyes pop out, jaws hit the floor. And he's like, man, I really wanted to be a doctor. Check that out. And he's not even too bothered when he later discovers that it's a guy.
It's just, it's not a very convincing nurse either, is it? He just does look like a bloke in drag, bless him.
Yeah, it's
such
really
an odd
weird,
character, isn't he? Such an odd character. You see him at the beginning, as soon as Victor gets in the car with him, you're like, blooming heck. You're a bit odd looking, sort of thing, and then you realise why, because this is the whole point, so he could dress up like a nurse later on in the film, because he's the only one that can pull it off. It's just so weird.
Because that gun Schwarzenegger's got is not a real gun, and it's a cross between a Magnum and a Desert Eagle, and it was made up by the props guy. So it's the Russian gun, which he calls it. I can't remember now.
Oh, I can't remember now. Yeah.
No, it's not really going to change our lives. But so it's just made up. And I don't understand when they're in hospital that nurse obviously kills them and runs away, and they're being chased by Belushi and Schwarzenegger. And when Belushi's got him cornered and pulls the gun out, I don't know why Gina Gershon then jumps in front in between them both and says don't shoot. Why she suddenly got an allegiance to this guy? It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. You're right.
Because surely this guy being shot would have been more payoff for her and would have been a way of getting rid of him.
Maybe, or I don't know. Maybe she was trying to protect herself. I don't know. I don't know. It's not particularly explained, is it? To be honest, you'd just think you'd stay in the background and then no one would know she was there anyway.
That's it. So if you want to be a victim, you play the victim, and a way of screaming and Especially if he's going to be shot anyway. You think, sod it, just do what you want. But credit to Arnie in the next scene, when Gina Gershon does run away and she's chased by Arnie, she gets cornered. And that's when he realizes that her life's in danger. And this is a situation that she doesn't want to be in. And it's only like a 30-second scene. And when he says to her, you're really stupid, like he's got women, there are 10 of you in Russia and you mean nothing to him. For me, just for that scene, Arnie's really portraying some emotion and it's really good acting.
Yeah.
I like that
to
scene.
laugh a little bit. But
when you looked at his face, he's really kind of means what he says. And I think it's because the rest of the film he's so stone-faced, being Russian, that in that scene he just isn't. He's back to like Arnie. He's a human being.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's a good scene. It develops his character because he's starting to actually show his emotion, like you just said. It's still funny because when he shouts "go," it sounds hilarious. I can't help but every time I listen to it, it's just like it says it, and it's so wooden. He's trying to get this woman to just go.
Yeah, God, yeah.
Just there's no emotion in it whatsoever, and it's quite funny. But no, the scene itself paints a better picture of him, and it shows her the fact of how fucking much she's shitting herself and all this sort of thing.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
What did you think of the sentimental scene? You always get one in the films, and you have to have one for when, and it's usually in the last third where things are starting to wrap up, and you get that bond between characters, and you get it in Lethal Weapon. You had it in the crying moments in Rush Hour, which we did. What did you think of these two bonding in the diner?
Well, it's like you say, it's character development in the sense of it's nice, isn't it? The fact that they have a common sort of way about them. So they're talking about the fact that both their families are dead and all this sort of stuff. And I quite liked it, to be honest. Like you say, it's the same in all of these buddy cop films. They have the moments where they are at each other, where they clearly don't like each other. Then they start to respect each other because of what they do and how they work. And then they have the emotional side of, actually, you're all right. We're the same, me and you, but we're just from different places. So
it's so tropey, isn't it?
It is tropey, but all of them have it, don't they?
Yeah, I don't know why though. Like, they always have to say, right, one of you, your dad's got to be a cop, a really good cop, and I can't fill his shoes no matter how hard I try. They're just ticking those boxes. It'd be so nice if something different. It was nice that both their parents passed away, that it was something original, you know. But it's just the same tropes, and
it is the same tropes, but he does get a magnum out of it. So,
well, yeah, and I suppose this was back in the 80s when they were starting those tropes. So I can give it a bit of credit that if it was now, it'll be Jesus Christ. Let's get the tick box out for a film of buddy cops and let's just go through the motions.
Well, it is though. Yeah, it's true. It is true. They all did it in one way or another. It was always tragedy, wasn't it? It was never anything fun or anything else like that.
No, 100%. You have that sad moment. I mean, in Rush Hour, Jackie Chan's dad was a cop. Chris Tucker's dad was a cop.
There you go.
And you had the sad story in Lethal Weapon. He was at work and he was running late, and then his wife died, and the job affected his personal life, and they just tick those boxes. But as I say, this was the 80s. This did it earlier than the ones doing it now. But
definitely.
So Gina Gershon calls Schwarzenegger and she's shitting herself. She says she will hand Viktor in. And that's when they were going to lead to the baseball scene that I said earlier, when she said, I'm willing to trade it for freedom. And they cut that whole scene out, which is a strange decision. And I think it would have played in really, really well had they have put that scene in. But Schwarzenegger's at his apartment. It's Victor's apartment in a certain way.
Hotel, yeah.
And he's being watched by the clean heads and Viktor. And conveniently, they watch him put the red key, which he's trying to hide so well, rather than keep it on his person, he keeps it in a lampshade or suspended from the ceiling. It's a really bizarre decision, isn't it?
It is, considering I'd Well, unless it probably was very dirty. It didn't look like a particularly clean hotel. But I'd imagine as soon as you put that light on, it would just put a big silhouette of a key on the floor.
I should imagine that hotel if you got a UV light and you scan that room. Oh my lord! Oh god, it would be a petri dish, wouldn't it?
It would. There would be all sorts living in there. It's fucking awful. But yeah.
Yeah, and so Victor sets up the clean heads of sending them to the wrong room, even though they stood in front of the desk clerk and knew which room he was staying in because he points it out. But they go to the wrong room. It's a really, really strange decision they make. And they decide to shoot everyone in the wrong room while Victor goes to Arnie's room and takes the key that if he would have had on his person, he wouldn't have been able to do that. It's really strange. Very, very strange. But written for convenience sake. And you see Arnie with his Magnum. And again, a great action scene. Shooting everyone. I love it. It's really, really good.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. I like the fact that you never see them ever reload their guns.
Yeah, and it's a 6-shooter, and I think he shot something like 8 shots.
Yeah, it does. It's again, isn't it, that action movie trope of I've got a gun that can hold 6 bullets, but I'll shoot it 15 times, and then there's still 1 bullet left just for you at the end, sort of thing. I've got my extended magazine in today.
Exactly. One last bullet. And they do then realise, after the carnage in the hotel, you see that Gina Gershon's character has been murdered by Victor, which I was surprised about, to be honest. When I first saw this, I didn't think she was going to die, did you?
No, I didn't. I thought she was going to get out of it, to be honest. I thought it was going to be one of those nice, sort of typical ones, if you like, where the girl survives at the end.
That's what I thought. She'd have a better life, and she's going to thank Arnie for it. And when she thanks him for it, his soul cracks a bit more, and he's a bit more human about everything. That's where I thought it was going to go, but we were clearly wrong. And there's no payoff. Fishburne is still an idiot towards both characters now, and I don't know. It's a strange decision to have someone who's that good an actor just be such a douchebag, and there's no arc to him whatsoever. It's really weird.
Yeah, no, I can't argue with you, to be honest. He just, no matter what happens, he's just going to be an arsehole to these two, and he loves it. And his acting's brilliant. You can see the enjoyment on his face. He portrays it so well. But you're right, for such a good actor, and even in this, he kind of steals the show a little bit with his acting prowess. And it is wasted, to be honest. He's
so good. Lawrence Fishburne is such a good actor, honestly. He's done, I mean, obviously everyone knows him as Morpheus.
Yes.
Because he is just, man, he's so good at being Morpheus. I love that.
Mate. No one else could be Morpheus, could they? They could never remake that film and put anyone else as Morpheus because he was just too good.
Yeah, definitely. But if you see him, have you seen Boys in the Hood?
Yeah.
He's amazing in Boys in the Hood. And King of New York, he is so good in The King of New York, honestly. He's absolutely amazing. He just steals that film. And it's so old. I mean, it's King of New York. I think it's 1990. Amazing. So good. Definitely recommend you watch that.
He's in Predators as well.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's a guy that's hidden in the old crashed spaceship.
Oh, okay.
And the one that acts like he's a bit nuts. And he's I think everything I've ever seen him in, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything that he's shit in, to be honest. He's so good.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with that. And it's strange. I wasn't going to say they're going to do a Rush Hour, but Rush Hour stole from this film of what they do. Because of the carnage caused, they basically, Arnie's got to go back to Russia, and that's it. But on the way back, they're going to have one last go at cracking the case.
Yeah.
And conveniently, Belushi's sister's husband is into keys. He's a locksmith. And Schwarzenegger goes through the one folder out of hundreds that's on the shelf and goes to the one page that actually says, this key is for this bus station.
I know. It's so
Man
good.
alive.
I know.
The luck there. He should have done his lottery numbers that day. Seriously.
It's true. It's brilliant. But that was very much of the era, wasn't it? It was. We need to start wrapping this up now. Let's get them in. Let's get it done. You know, let's not make a scene of them sitting in there for 5 hours. You know, and like have old Jim looking at his watch now and again, go fucking hurry up, Arnie. You know, it's straight to the point.
Oh God, yeah, they were thick-skinned about it. They really didn't care, did they?
No, they didn't give a shit. They really didn't. They're like, come on, guys, we need to wrap this up now. Let's do this. Come on.
So despite the fact that there is, out of the interest of making a profit, they've made more than one locker and built more than one bus station. They know which one they're going to.
Oh, definitely.
It's amazing. So they rush to the closest bus station, and by chance they're there. And you've got Victor with the clean heads. And at the start of this film, when Arnie's partner got killed, Victor had one of those guns hidden by his sleeve. And thankfully, he's wearing a jacket that's like got fucking wizard sleeves on there, where he can actually hide this gun up his sleeve. And again, he deceives the clean heads, despite doing it a time after time, that he gives Elijah the money. And upon giving him the money, he then shoots him and murders him and takes the money. I mean, who would have seen this coming, eh?
Oh, mate, fooled me.
With acting like that, mate, you should have been in this film.
Oh, thanks, Stu. Put that on my CV.
Yeah, I've got so much sway in Hollywood. And that's when Victor outside meets like the kind of, I don't know whether he's like the Mexican equivalent of Snoop Dogg. He really looks like him. He really does. And they exchanged $100 bills, and they come up with this crap code words, don't they, that they say to each other.
Oh, I know. It's just like, mate, I've got a suitcase. And who gives a fuck? They're in a bus station.
Excuse me. You got change for $100 bill?
This is the smallest I have. Your merchandise is in the luggage trucks.
That's a right shithole. You've got a bloke that's in a white suit. You know, he couldn't look any more fucking Escobar-like. You know, what else is he doing there? You know,
it's like someone from the set of Saturday Night Fever just standing there, and he comes up with these code words.
Yeah, no one knows what I'm doing here, so we need to use code words, right? Don't fuck this up.
It's so good. So they exchanged the $100 bills, because that obviously means everything, and then he gives him a bundle of cash. But as that happens, our two heroes exit the bus station and point guns at Victor, and it just gets more bizarre.
Yeah,
they both want to arrest him, so in turn Schwarzenegger then points his gun at Belushi and says, I want to arrest him. I mean, why didn't they just arrest him? You know?
I know. I did look at this and I was like, hang on a minute, what the fuck are you talking? Why is he doing that? You know, there's just no reason for it whatsoever at all, apart from the fact that you just let him get away.
That's it, because you killed a Chicago cop, or you killed a Russian cop, and then they point guns at each other. These two, after all of this time trying to find him, would not do this.
No,
and they do it, and he escapes, and it's just head-scratching stuff. It's strange. It really is. But
it is, yeah.
And he nicks a bus. Victor steals a bus, and then Arnie and Belushi jump on a bus as well. And it's strange because the buses aren't technically chasing each other, because they're never in the same shot on screen, are they?
No, I do wonder if it's the same bus.
It is so weird, because you get them, the trophy smashing into cars, knocking those kind of parking meters over, and they tick all the boxes, and it's mildly entertaining, but they're not smashing side by side, and they just never see each other. It's a very strange choice, and the reason why they chose coaches is because Walter Hill said that Schwarzenegger was too big to get in a car, and have a proper car chase.
Even though he's been in the car for quite a lot of this film.
I know, maybe he doesn't realise that.
So did he watch the rest of it, or did they do this scene first? Because that makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
No.
Okay, good. But that's, I suppose it's more dramatic, I suppose, being in a bus.
I get that.
It's big, but they are slow. And
but if they were, if it kind of had some impact on the chase, apart from like being able to destroy stuff, that they're just buses chasing each other. If they were smashing into each other, you never see buses like cars do, smashing into each other and everything. I just don't know. There's no payoff for the buses.
No, you're right, mate. There is no real payoff apart from the fact of the amount of destruction they cause, and going through that monument and stuff like that. I mean, you do see them sort of driving after each other in the buses, but that's about it, I think, don't you?
That's so shit, even the way you described that.
It's true. We're just watching it, and you said they're not in the same shot. They are, because one's behind the other one. Or that could just be a bus on its route. I don't know.
Jesus. So buses, if you had to choose a film for buses, what film would you choose?
Well, the one that instantly comes is Speed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's about a bus that can't slow down.
I mean, bus chases, when you've got, the Italian Job, amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Using a bus to its potential, so good. As you say, Speed, absolutely brilliant. This is just terrible. It really is terrible. And they have a game of chicken, and for a fact none of them are going to back off. Schwarzenegger's driving, Viktor's driving. They hate each other. They actually show the hatred for each other. And it's Belushi who pulls the wheel away, who doesn't want to die. Yeah. And the bus tips over and a train hits Viktor's bus. Yeah.
You are definitely picking out the holes in this film. Not that, there are quite a few, bless it. But it is funny, isn't it? I mean, Pussy Belushi just has to get Arnie to stop. But, what is going to happen if those two went head on?
Yeah.
All they're going to do is fucking seriously injure or kill each other, which doesn't make any sense at all, does it?
No, really Arnie was willing to die. And it's so strange because the bus hits Viktor's coach kind of in the middle, so it kind of T-bones him. Yeah. And Schwarzenegger gets out of his, and he turns around to Belushi, and I don't understand. I must have missed something previously in the film, because he does a Terminator punch through the window, and he shouts out at Belushi that he says, "You're a rock," doesn't he? Is that what he said?
I don't know what that means. Yeah, you're a rock.
You're a rock. You're a rock. You're a rock. And I don't get it. I don't know why he's saying it. Do you?
Maybe you're supposed to say cock.
I've got no idea.
But it came out wrong.
But
they just kept it. Oh, really? No, rock's close enough.
It's so strange. It really is strange. I don't know. As I say, whether I missed something in the film. Clearly, you must have missed it as well.
Yeah.
Why you would say that? But Viktor comes, it all got all the smoke, it gets all kind of atmospheric, and as the subtitles say, it's sinister music playing. But he walks up to Viktor, and there's a bit of a showdown, and that's when Schwarzenegger just shoots him with a Magnum shitloads of times. Why Viktor didn't shoot him earlier, why Schwarzenegger didn't shoot Viktor earlier, it's really, really strange. There is no tension. You know which way it's going to go. Viktor even gets a few shots off and misses.
Well, that's always the way, isn't it? It's very much an Arnie film. Is he stands still and everyone shoots at him and no one hits him? It happens in a lot of his films. But 100%. Maybe, what's that one? Bloody hell, my mind's gone blank.
Raw Deal?
Commando and Raw Deal. Both of those. He's fighting an entire fucking army and they all shooting machine guns at him and he doesn't get hit once.
God, yeah.
It's amazing. He's literally bulletproof.
He is bullet. I should have called this bulletproof. I tell you, really, really should have done. But so Victor's obviously dead. Everyone's happy, and then you get another. When you look at this film, credit to this film, to be honest, you do get the idea that Rush Hour really ripped a lot out of this film,
Yeah,
didn't it?
I think
In
it
the
did.
end, they exchanged gifts, didn't they?
The 10 grand watch for the $20 East German.
Yeah. And didn't they do that in Rush Hour as well?
Something similar, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was something very similar.
They really did take a lot. They did it better, but they really did take a lot from this film, which is it's strange. And and it just he leaves on a plane back to Russia. The case is solved, and Arnie even says some real corny line, doesn't he?
Oh, what does he say at the end?
About being so different, and that it's like Rocky Four of
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Yeah. He says we're police officers, not politicians, and it's okay to like each other.
Yeah. No, he does, doesn't he? And it is, like that's why I likened it to Rocky Four earlier, because it is very much this. Hey, we hate each other, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We
can
don't
change.
have to.
If you can change, we all can change.
Yeah, I know. It's such a good film, Rocky Four, but it is out.
I love it. I won't have a bad word said about Rocky Four.
No, mate, it's one I love. Rocky 1 to 4 are fucking awesome. I won't say anything bad about them either. But the only thing that is a slight issue with it is the fact that it's so political. But he wanted it. Sly wanted it to be political, didn't he? So that's why it was.
Yeah, that's the message that he was getting across, wasn't it? At the end of the day, that was the big thing.
It was.
For some fucking reason, I got no idea.
I don't know. Maybe he wanted to be a governor of somewhere, but.
Oh dear. But yeah, that was Red Heat. I mean, it's I watched this. I've just literally finished watching it just before the podcast. So it was thankfully fresh in my mind. What's your best bits, worst bits? I mean, would you recommend it? I mean, how do you feel about this film? Would you score it?
If we're doing it out of 5, I'd probably give it a 3.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's brilliant, because it isn't. You can't say it's a brilliant film, but it's also not a film that you want to instantly turn off.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it for what it was because of the fact of how comedic it was in the way it was sort of portrayed. The stuff at the beginning with the fact that everyone's just walking around in loincloths, and it was just completely unnecessary, and the fact that it tried to be funny, and like you pointed out, the fact that it's been ripped off massively by Rush Hour, so they must have done something right, just not in the right way, or it was made in the wrong era or whatever it might be. I'd recommend it if people want something that's quite easy to watch, and lots of blood and violence, and basically looking at Arnie being massive. I think the funniest bit was probably the comedy, or the best bits is probably the comedy parts where he knocks that. If you heard of Miranda and knocks that bloke out, I was in fucking stitches. It was so funny.
Yeah. Had you seen this before, the podcast? Before, just the first time watching it?
No, I own this on DVD anyway, so I've seen it before.
Oh, okay.
And I watched it obviously when we decided we were going to do it, so I was aware of it. But yeah, I'd recommend it. I'd say it's pretty good. There's some good bits. It's forced. It's an old classic 80s film, and if I was put it this way, I'd watch this over Raw Deal.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, do you prefer this to Raw Deal? You do, I take
massively,
it, yeah.
Because it makes some sort. The story is, isn't it? It is basically Rush Hour, but just done 10 years plus beforehand.
Yeah.
And they've tried to be funny, and it has got funny elements in it. But unfortunately, as much as he's tried, Arnie is not a comedic actor.
Yeah.
It's not going to work the same as Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan, who are both hilarious in their own way. As much as the other guy is brilliant, he can't be funny for two of them.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that they didn't kind of at the time. I mean, you got wisecracking kind of like actors in there, and especially going through the 80s, that someone like, I think, I mean, Belushi wasn't really a problem, but I think Nick Nolte would have worked much better for this. I think he would have been. I think he's got a greater screen presence than Belushi has. And when you think the success of 48 Hours, that was 1982, so this was a few years after, and that was Walter Hill as well. So I'm really surprised why he didn't use like Nick Nolte. Whether they would have compared it to 48 Hours, I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I mean, would he want to do a similar film again? I don't know. That's the thing, isn't it? And I like Belushi in this film. I think he's very good. He doesn't really put a foot wrong. He plays the person he's trying to be very, very well. And it must be so hard. And this is no discredit to Arnie, because I think he's fantastic at what he does. But it must be very hard to work with an actor that has no. He was employed because of his size, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And his presence on screen. It was never, unfortunately, to do with how good he was at acting. And to act alongside someone like that and try and have this, relationship built on screen, it must be near on impossible to do.
Well, I think that's credit then to Rush Hour to a certain extent, when you've got Chris Tucker, mental, goes off track, and Jackie Chan, whose English isn't particularly wonderful. How well that worked, Oh,
it worked fantastically though, didn't it? But it was just, it was done in such a good way. Obviously, they waned as they went on, but by number 3, the script and everything was pants. But their relationship spawned 3 films, which is what we all said. It was their relationship we enjoyed, really, very much the same with Lethal Weapon.
So who was the star of this film for you?
Well, it's always going to be Arnie because of the fact he does all the action. But I think the best actor in this film is probably Belushi.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I can't argue with that.
What about you then, Stu? What would you give it?
I'd go with you, mate. I'd give it a 3 out of 5. I mean, we've picked so many holes in this, or 2.5 out of 5, but it is an enjoyable action film. It's a real no-brainer, and we always watch this with a critical eye because that's the whole kind of point of doing it. But it is just a good action film. The story has got, I think it would have benefited from cutting a hell of a lot of scenes out and possibly adding the scenes that were cut out back into the film.
I agree with that.
It probably would have flowed and made a lot more sense.
Other than typewriters.
Yeah, God, 100%. But with the worst bits, it's difficult to pick the worst bit because I think there was just too much Russian in it. I know they were in Russia, but to actually have to put English subtitles on, and they not show actually English subtitles built into it when they were speaking Russian is bizarre. Yeah. And showing Russian letters is pointless, especially if they're not going to explain what it means, which was strange. But good bits. I mean, it's hard to pick a good bit out, as in, again, I agree with you. The Miranda punching the guy was just comedy, unexpected comedy. And they purposely didn't put one-liners in that they do for Arnie because they wanted to get away from that. I think that worked well, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Other than the whole porn coming on and saying capitalism or whatever, there was very few of that type of thing, wasn't there? So
it wasn't like stick around and I have to let him go and stuff like that. I mean, thankfully they got away from there. I'd recommend this to someone, but with words of advice of if there is nothing else on. If the Great British Sewing Bee's finished, if the Pottery Throwdown is finished, and Glow Up, maybe watch this. But I'd recommend those over that, to be honest.
Wow, even Glow Up. Jesus.
I love Glow Up. I honestly love Glow Up.
No.
Yeah, I do. Honestly, there's nothing better. Me and the missus, our Thursday nights, because everything's been on then, it will be All That Glitters, Great British Sewing Bee, Glow Up, and the Pottery Throwdown. You can't get a better evening than that, to be honest.
I don't mind the Sewing Bee and the other one you said, the Pottery Throwdown. Apart from the fact he cries all the time,
Oh, I
some
love
fucking
it.
pots. It's like, man, it's a pot.
Oh, it's just brilliant. I love it when he cries. He's such a nice guy. Honestly, if anyone has not seen this, watch it. It's so good.
I'm not saying he's not a nice guy, but fuck me, it's a pot. You know, well done. Someone rubbed their hands with some clay, and now it looks good. Don't need to get a.
Oh, you're a cold man, aren't you? You really are. Deary me,
Now and
me.
again, but it just every time I've not seen it all the time. I'm happy to watch it like yourself, but every time it's on and I catch it, and it's just he starts fucking blubbering. I was like, oh, Jesus
Christ, it's series linked. Honestly,
have you really? Oh, dude, Jesus.
Yeah. All these things are coming out. Honestly, confessions.
No, not for me. I'm afraid, not my kind of thing.
Never mind.
But Invincible, because we mentioned that before, I finished watching Invincible.
Oh, did you?
On Amazon. Oh, it's so good. It's such a good series. It really is. It sort of twists and turns, and you don't quite know where it's going. The gore and blood and violence in it is just unreal. Some of the things they do in that, it's just, you can't believe they go in that direction. It's just, it's insane. But it's well worth a watch if you like animated series.
Yeah, so I can't agree any more than that. It's so good. I was blown away. I didn't know what to expect. And the cast of it, Sandra Oh, J.K. Simmons, Stephen Yen, is so good. Honestly, Mark Hamill even voices as well.
He does.
And you've got Clancy Brown. It's massive. And Walton Goggins. And it's, as you say, the story of the arc of these characters gets you, and the level of violence, the animation is just out of this world. I can't wait. I'm so glad they've greenlit season 2 and season 3 already.
Oh, definitely.
It's just brilliant. Yeah, it's a real breath of fresh air, and
it is.
Can't recommend it enough, honestly.
Loki starts soon as well. So
yeah, we'll be doing the Loki podcast. That will come out. I think that's on this. Is that on this weekend?
11th, isn't it, or something like that?
11th, next weekend.
Yeah, next weekend.
Yeah, so we'll be going back to 2 podcasts every week. I'm also putting out the podcast, as I said, from the vault of ones that we haven't put out for a while. I think the next one that I'll be putting out is, oh my God, I can't even bloody remember it, what it's called now. That is just how dedicated I am. Which is so bad. It's going to be Event Horizon and I Saw the Devil, both of those that I'll be putting out. And if you haven't seen I Saw the Devil, it is unbelievable. It's one of the best revenge films that's ever been made. So good. Really sad. Quite graphic. And Event Horizon is just, well, that's a brilliant sci-fi horror. So good.
Speaks for itself, doesn't it, that film? It's such a good film.
Yeah, both of them totally recommend. I'll be putting both of those out again on our Android and iTunes. It'll be out next week at some point. And again, go to YouTube and put the Filmreelcast in, and you'll see our little red symbol with a Filmreelcast. Thanks to everyone who's subscribed to that channel. The subscription is going up every single day, which is amazing. And everyone who subscribed and left comments, again, go back to the King of Kong. Really appreciate that. It means a hell of a lot. And as I said last week or last month, we had over 38,000 downloads for our podcast.
Bloody hell. That's insane.
It is. It's just amazing, and we mean it when we say it. We are so grateful for the people who do that, because it's
definitely.
It's just mind blowing.
I was literally going to say those words. It is mind blowing. It's just every time you talk about it, it's like unbelievable.
Definitely.
So, thank you so much.
So we're the Filmreelcast at Gmail. We're on at the Filmreelcast on Twitter. We're on Facebook, and we're on Instagram as well. Follow us. Leave any comments, any films you want us to review. Just send us a message, and we'll quite happily do that. I mean, if you want to jump on the pod, if there's a film you really desperately want to talk about, then by all means you can jump on the pod, and we'll all do it together. It's really not a problem. We do this for fun. We don't take it serious, so it's all good laughs. We'll be back with Salvation, hopefully, won't we?
Oh, hopefully the boys will be available.
I'm really looking forward to talking about that. Honestly, I haven't never seen it before. I've got quite a few things to to talk about and get your points of view, knowing or don't really know what side of the fence you're on with regards to Salvation. So that'd be interesting.
Well, I know James hates it or has a lot of issues with it. I quite like it, so it's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be quite a lot of different opinions on this film.
Excellent.
Between the three of us. So
that's what we always love.
Yeah.
Definitely. Everyone, thanks for listening, and thanks for the downloads, your comments, and everything. It's really appreciated. And keep listening. We'll be back with Terminator. And thanks for everyone's time. It's been great. Have a lovely weekend, whatever you're doing.
Take care.